So now in this lecture, we're going to start with the HTML part of the project, and you can see I have already launched the final version of the application into the Chrome browser, and I've also launched the version of the application that we want to build in this particular module, which is running on this particular port address. And now you can see I have already created the required files also inside the Visual Studio Code, which is index.html, style.css and script.js file. All of these files are linked with the index.html. Now the first thing is, before actually starting the code, we need to set up this container structure because everything is actually placed inside the container. So we need to first create a container, and then we need to place these elements. This is going to be the heading. Then we need to place this division, and after that we need to create the control division. Inside of that we need to create this hue, slider, and then this particular span element which will be acting as a label. We need to place them. So we need to wrap these three elements inside the one division whose class is going to be control, and then we need to wrap all of these three controls into one class which is going to be controls. Alright, all of these three control is going to be actually wrapped into one main division which is going to be controls, and then after that we are going to place the button which is going to be out of the main controls division. Alright, so I have given you the basic idea how the HTML markup, or I can say that how the HTML elements will be placed one after the another. Alright, so it's time to start the code inside the HTML so that it will become more clear to you. So I'm going to click on the our version of the application that we want to build in this module. So here inside the body, the first thing is I need to create the container. So here I will be using the emit abbreviation of the Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to simply here typing the dot container, and if I press the enter key or a tab key, then it's going to gives me a division tag of class name container. Inside of the container, the first thing is I need to place the h1 element that is going to display a HSL color generator, or I can say that the color picker. Alright, if I control save it, then you can see we get the heading color picker. Now it's time to specify the division tag, and then I need to specify the class. So the class is going to be like color display. Alright, instead of that we will be displaying the preview of the color, that is this one. Whatever value we will change, this value will be reflect the changes of the color in this particular color display, which is actually a division. Alright, after that we need to create another division tag whose class is going to be controls. So class, then this one is going to have a class name controls, and after that inside of this particular division we need to create another division tag having a class name control. So now we have defined another division tag that has a class name control. Inside of that we need to define the label tag. So for what, the first one is for the hue, and then the label that we want to add is actually a hue, and after the label we want to display a slider. So that will be added in another container. It's going to be division, and then I need to define here a class, then the slider container. Inside of this particular slider container, the first is going to be the input element. So the type is going to be range because we want a slider, and then ID is going to be hue, and then the minimum value that it can support is actually 0. And then I need to also define the maximum value. For the hue, the value can be maximum about to 360, and then I need to provide the default value. So the default value is going to be 100. So I'm going to click on view and word wrap so that you can see everything more clearly in this particular one viewport of the Visual Studio Code. And after the input, it's time to define the span element. So span tag that will be used to display the percentage base values. For the hue there is no percentage because it can go up to from 0 to 360, whereas the saturation can be just maximum 100. If I actually add this particular to maximum 100, then we will get the white color. If I actually reduce it to 0, then you can see we will get this kind of color. We will get the black color if I actually take it to the 0. So this is how hue, saturation and lightness color scheme, or I can say that the color scale working. So inside the span we need to also define the ID. So the ID for this one is going to be like hue, and then we need to add here a value which is actually a value. So here I made a tempo which is actually hue value, and then by default I want to display a value which is going to be 180. when we launch the application. Or I can just simply add here 100 because we have added a value here 100. So if I control save it, and here it is 100. Alright. Now similarly we need to create the same control, means the same code will be, I need to copy and paste it for the saturation one. So I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it here. So the class is going to be control, then it is for the saturation. So I need to here type the saturation, and then the label value, it is also be going to be saturation. And then here it is going to be slider container, the same class, so that we can apply a same style to these all elements, means these all controls section. And then I need to define here a span tag. So the value of this particular one is going to be different at this point of time, which is going to be saturation value. And then I need to here define a default value. Also I need to make changes inside the input type range. So the ID here, it is going to be saturation. And then the minimum value is going to be 0, and the maximum it can support up to 100. And the default value that I want to give is actually 50. And here inside the span saturation value, it is going to be 50 as well. Alright, so I need to cross check it if I did all the changes. So inside that I did a saturation for the label, then I also changed the input ID, which is actually a saturation, and then I have changed the span ID, which is going to be saturation value. Then similarly I need to do that for the lightness also. So I'm going to copy it and then I am going to paste it here. Then again I need to change it here lightness, and then the label that I want to display is also going to be lightness, and then here it is going to be slider value, then the type is going to range, and then I need to change the ID also. So the ID is going to be like lightness, and then here it is going to be minimum and max value is going to be same, or I can just simply change here like 45, and then the value here I also need to change it to 45, and then also I need to change the ID name. So ID from the span is going to be like lightness value. Alright, if I control save it, now we also get the lightness here. Alright, so we have placed all the three controls under the controls division, means we have placed all the three control under the control division, if I want to say it more clearly. And after that, where is our controls main division is ending, so it is ending it here. So after that we need to place the button element, which will be used for the copying of the color code, or I can say that the color of the HSL. Alright, so here I need to specify the ID, which is going to be like copy button, and then the text that I want to display inside the button, which is going to be like copy button, or I can say it here copy color. If I control save it, now you can see we get the button also, which is copy color. Alright, so our all the HTML element is actually done. So that's it for this particular part of the project, which is HSL color generator, or I can say that the HSL color picker. So in the next part we're going to start with the CSS part of the project.